Mr. Trawale, I would like to continue with the examination by taking you through some of the reports that were tendered. Mr. Registrar, may I be availed of the exhibits that were tendered today? You happen to have another copy of the report so that we can follow simultaneously, or?
Whether I'm having another copy?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Witness, you are still reminded that you are on the oath.
Oh, well, I'm having this laptop, I don't know.
Okay, Chairperson, would the Commission permit the witness to follow the reports with the copy on his computer so that we can go through them simultaneously?
Very well. I believe that what he has in his laptop is the same as what is being admitted in evidence. If that is the case, he can do so.
Is what you have on your laptop the same as what?
Exactly. They are just produced exact copies. So
okay. Thank you. I'm grateful, Chairperson. So let me refer you to Exhibit ARBSE002, which is the audit for Basse Area Council for the year ended 31st December 2019. There?
I'm up. Basse, right?
Yes, for the year ending 31st December 2019.
Sorry, Mr. Trawale, before you answer the question, I just want to ask Council. Can you please guide the Commission whether all the reports have been tendered, whether it's all the municipalities' report that was availed to you, so that we know if there are any ones that are outstanding? You kindly request that those be provided if they have any before you continue.
Yes, we have previously requested that the one for Banjul for the management letter for 2017 to 2018 be provided, because we do not have that. We only have the audit report and final management letter for Banjul City Council. But the reports for Kuntaur Area Council have been tendered. The ones for Kanifing Municipal Council have been tendered. Mansakonko Area Council, Kerewan Area Council, one for Banjul City Council, Janjambure Area Council, Brikama Area Council, and Basse Area Council. So that's 8. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. You can proceed.
I'm great. Mr. Trawale, are you at the report?
Yes. We can proceed. Fortunately, I see Basse in the soft copy.
Okay.
Maybe I just but it's okay. We can.
Yeah, I'll let you look at the
proceed,
exhibit itself. Presents the audited financial statements. Page 4 of the report begins with the General Counsel presents the audited financial statements. Now, this is what is sent by the Council?
Yeah, it said the General Counsel responsibility for the preparation of the financial statement. These are just standard wordings, just to tell them that it's your responsibility to prepare the financial statement, And then auditors, our responsibility is to review and express an opinion. These are just the nature of the audit report. It's just the standard wordings, yeah.
Thank you. Now, on page 7 of that report, you have provided an opinion.
Yes.
You have said that you have audited the financial statement of Bassa Area Council, which comprised the balance sheet as at 31st December 2019, and the revenue and expenditure statement for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statement. Your opinion in the report is that the statements are prepared in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the
have disclaimer. I think most of the council you see disclaimer. Disclaimer means the auditor is not able to express an opinion because you have constraint. There is system, but you are not able to go to the system, verify these transactions. They give you figures, these figures are not supported. So the auditor is saying, but I cannot express an opinion on this financial statement because I don't know. The figures given to me, I cannot verify them. So that is where we will express a disclaimer of opinion on the financial statement. These are some of the common opinions expressed as far as the area councils are concerned.
Thank you. Now, on page 8 of the report, you have stated that the financial statement has been prepared on a cash basis accounting in accordance with the Financial and Accounting Manual for local government authorities. What does this mean, this cash basis accounting?
Yes, these are the accounting principles. Each and every institution has there is a method that you use in preparing your financial statement. And that method needs to be prescribed in your manual. For area councils, cash basis meaning their operations are mainly cash. If you are to buy something, you use cash to buy it. If you are receiving revenue, you receive it. Others might be saying accrual based. Accrual based means somebody might render service to you, but you haven't paid. Or maybe the rates and taxes that they're supposed to collect, they are owed, but they haven't received yet. So in that way, you can use accrual. It will depend on the nature of the institution. But area council, cash basis is just telling you most of their operations are cash basis. They deal with cash to buy, cash to transact. That's why their method of preparing finances is cash basis.
Thank you. On page 9 of the report, at the bottom, there are 2 columns for assets and liabilities. And under assets, they have listed cash and bank balances as well as debtors. Now, would you consider the debtors as assets?
Yes, debtors, I know now we use receivables. Area council, because of their manuals, they're still using debtors, but that is fine. These debtors is an asset. This thing you are seeing is called the balance sheet.
Okay.
For their balance sheet comprises of the assets and the liabilities of the institutions. Debtors are assets. They are called current assets. Current assets, these are the assets, or this is the money that you are expected to receive within the year. If physical cash is an asset for you, but debtors, you owing me, but I'm expecting a cash from you within that year, within the year. So that is what is called debtors or current assets or receivables. So you will bring them as an asset, current assets, because you are expected to receive that physical cash in a short period of time. That is why it is an asset to you. You don't receive the physical cash yet, but you are expected to receive it within this shortest period of time. So that's why it is classified as an asset.
Thank you. And then under assets, the balance is $3,414,312.38. And it's the same amount on the balance for liabilities. Is this usual?
Yes, this is usual because it needs to be balanced. Because accounting is double entry. Any debit transaction must have a corresponding credit entry. So for your book to be balanced, the assets and liabilities need to balance. So it is normal, it is usual. If at all there is a figure here that is having an unusual thing, then the email letter will explain that. We'll bring that one and we'll explain. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, under review of governance,
yes,
you have indicated certain lapses.
Yes.
You have indicated that there is no development committee and that the contracts committee has only one member who is the chairperson.
Yes.
You following?
Yes, I'm following now, yeah.
Now, what are the risk implications for these lapses?
You said under governance, say that again.
Under review of governance, you have indicated that there are certain lapses.
Yes.
That there's no development committee. The contract committee has only one member who is the chairperson. So my question is, what are the risk implications for these lapses?
Yes, the implication, because if we are auditing the council, as national audit, as supreme audit institution, when we go to the councils, we don't just focus on the financial transaction, the revenue, but we look at the operations of the councils, and then we start with the governance because if the governance structures are not in place, obviously these are some of the issues that will have an impact on the financial statement. So we always divide our audit into sections: governance, internal controls, and finance. So these are just from, if you look at the finding, it said section 34, subsection 1 of Local Government Act 2002 required that a council shall establish the committee referred to in Part 4 and the following order committee: finance, establishment, development, and such other committees. So the implication here is, for them, according to the audit report, there was no evidence that a development committee, as required by the Local Government Act, we don't see any evidence of that. Development is a requirement that the councillors, there should be a development committee. A finance and contract committee are both set up, both headed by the same person. The contract committee did not have any other member other than the chairperson. You should have a contract committee, and then you have a finance committee. But in this case, it's only one person who is heading both. So that is a lapse. And then the implication, just to answer your question, the implication is saying weak governance will imply that the operation of the council will fall almost exclusively in the hand of the executive. This may then result in poor or no oversight, and hence poor internal control, because it's like the chairperson was the one heading the finance and the contract committee. And then if he is the one heading all these things, then that can have an impact on the governance structure, because the power will be less on only few individuals. So that is the implication. That is the risk.
And considering the contracts committee usually deals with procurement matters.
Yes.
And there's only one member who is the chair, who's the chairperson.
Yes.
Do you think this would be an avenue for fraudulent contracts, or contracts in which someone has an personal interest in when it comes to procurement processes?
Yes, it can lead to, auditors don't wait until when the risk crystallize happen and then usually we audit, it points at potential risks. And then most of the time, that's why any finding, we will code the criteria. This is from their own operational documents. Local Government Act said you should have this, this, and that. Then auditors will come and review. According to your document, this is how it should be, but you are doing it in contract, and then we look at the risks. Yes, if you look at some of these things, because the contract committee should be the one responsible for the contract, the procurements, and then the finance committee, mostly anything has to do with the audit reports. The finance committee has to, review that. They should have the knowledge. So if this is lacking, the auditors will always flag it so that something can be done about it. But give an idea of what is their stand as far as the audit finding is concerned.
I think one of the issues that was raised in respect of the committees was also that there was an average of less than 1 meeting minute recorded in the year on file.
Yeah.
And so it would essentially be impossible to know what went on if meetings were actually held.
Exactly, because this is something that we always buttress, and it comes in almost all our reports. You have committees, and then the committee, for us to know that these committees exist or what is transpiring is the minutes, because the minutes should be prepared, filed, so that if an independent reviewer comes, then you can know what is happening in the council or what has transpired, or if they have taken any decision. It's the minutes that will tell you how did they arrive at that decision. But if that is lacking, even if they will say, yeah, we've been meeting, but our audit is evidence-based. If you are meeting, but there is no minutes to show that you've been meeting, as far as we are concerned, we flag it as an internal control weakness.
Thank you. But I note that the risk that has been based on that issue is medium.
Yes, because if you look at the audit finding, this ranking, if it is high, that means if it is not regular immediately, it can lead to a total failure of the institution. If it is medium, meaning even if it is not regularized immediately, it doesn't mean that the operation will be affected. But we are just telling them that it needs to be regularized in future. It might not be immediately, but you should work towards, solving that issue. So it's just the impact, yeah.
Okay. Can we look at page 4 of the management letter? I believe it is.
Page?
4 of the management letter.
Okay.
I realize that the pagination has issues.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so page 4 of the management letter states that the council does not have an internal audit department, contrary to section 26(1) of the Local Government Finance and Audit Act. I had asked you earlier about the interface between the National Audit Office and the Internal Audit Unit, but can you tell us what risks are posed by the fact that there was no internal audit department?
Yes, because this is also as per the regulation, a council should have an internal audit department staffed with competent people, because the purpose of internal audit is to help the management. It's a management tool to help the management to do the risk assessment, and where there are risks, he has to work with the management to make sure that those things are regularized. It's the internal control system before the external auditors come in, where the internal auditor is part of the process and then should be helping the management on a day-to-day basis to mitigate the risks. So if you don't have an internal audit, payments can go, payment can go without being supported. Payment can be, so the time the external auditors come, external auditors comes once every year, and then our audit is based on sampling. So when we come, by then, most of the issues have already happened. So the internal auditor is there to help them to mitigate and regularize those things before the external auditors comes. So this internal audit is different from the internal audit director. Each and every council is supposed to have their own internal auditor helping with the management.
And this is an issue that actually got worse, because in 2017 and 2018, they had, I believe the report indicated that there was only one internal audit, there was one staff. The finding is, we noted that the internal audit department has only one staff. His current audit coverage is restricted to only vetting of revenue collections and occasional pre-audit of expenditure. Other core functions such as internal control reviews and risk assessments remain unattended to. There are no plans and strategies by the unit for its audits, and there are no evidence that this approach follows any standards. This is from the 2017-2018 report.
Yes,
so as at that time they had one, and then in 2019 they had none.
Yes. If it's the heading is no internal audit function, right? Or no?
Yes, assessment of internal audit function, and then the finding was that you noted that there was the internal audit department has only one staff.
So meaning it's having the staff, but it's not adequate, because his functions were only limited, and then which he should do. The internal audit function is beyond that, because you have to look at the risks. You have to assess the risks in the councils and prepare a report on a quarterly basis and submit this report to the General Council. So that's why the internal auditor, you are not even supposed to report to the CEO. You should prepare whatever is happening in the council. You are part of it. You are there to help management. You should prepare a report and then make sure that these reports are submitted to the council, the General Council, and even to the ministry, so that they know what is happening at that council. So when the external auditors come, we will rely on that report. We will put some reliance on that report to review it, and that will give us an idea of what is going on in this council. So, but if this is not happening, then that's why most of these things are just crystallizing across all the councils. At times, some of them, they will have the internal auditor, but he's not doing what he or she is supposed to do. At times, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the competency, no audit background. You have some internal auditor who doesn't even have an audit background. You go to their file, you don't see anything related to auditing. And again, when you are there, they will be talking to you verbally. You said, where is the report? They cannot. It's like constraints. So these are some of the weaknesses that we always bring out in our report, so that the stakeholder, the oversight, can know this is what is happening and take necessary action to regularize it.
Thank you. In their response to that query, they said that they have now appointed an internal auditor. Do you know how long it took them from when you raised the issue in 2019, because, well, for 2019, that they remedied the situation?
Yes, the internal auditor has been appointed.
But do you know, maybe have an idea of how long it took from when you raised it to when they appointed one?
We might not know, because for us, when we audit this year, when we report that, we only go there the next year, and then we will only do that confirmation next year. Last year, according to our listing, there was no internal audit, but this year, are you having it? Yes, we just confirmed. So I might not know exactly when was it regularized. For us, we only look at whether it has been, recommendation has been implemented or not. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's also a date under the response box. There's a date by which it's stated the date by which the situation in the query will be remedied. Who provides that date? Is it the NAO, or is it?
No,
someone
anything
else?
in the management response is for the management. It's the management of the institution we are auditing. It's the council. So as of to be taken is the council. They will say the CEO, the director of finance, officers responsible. All these things is them. For us, they will send the response in soft copy or in what, and then we will just copy and then place it there. We don't even change the wordings.
Okay. You had indicated that things you give them, I think, 3 weeks or a month to remedy whatever the query is.
Yeah, that will be the response. That is part of the audit process before the report. When we go there, if we write our draft, we will send the draft to them for them to review and provide their response to our draft. So we'll give them 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, depending on the volume of this thing. That is before we finalize the report. But this action to be taken is for them to say when are they going to intend to regularize this particular issue.
Thank you. Page 6 of the management letter, I believe, states that there was no balance sheet for the period under review. What does that mean?
Yeah, at this point, there was no balance sheet. That is the statement to show the assets and liabilities. This was during the draft because before you even, after the 3 months of every year, let's say we are in 2023 now, after the first quarter, all councils are supposed to prepare their financial statement. Financial statements comprise of this income and expenditure, the balance sheet, and then the other statements. Submit everything to the National Audit Office. But this has not been happening. So when we get there for the audit, they haven't submitted the financial statement, this balance sheet, then it will come as an observation that we are there but no balance sheet has been submitted. But for this case, when we were there was no balance sheet. But when we came back, sent our draft, before we finalized the report, they prepare one. So that is what has been shown on the previous pages. Yeah. But some of these we will flag it so that the readers know that they haven't submitted it at the right time. And this is a law. Yeah.
Okay. Page 11. It says there is no evidence on file that the council used any scientific basis for the preparation of its budget.
Page 11. What's the finding?
I don't have
the heading. I mean the heading. I
don't have the heading.
Okay. Page 11, right?
Page 11 of the management letter, I believe.
Okay.
It's about their budget.
Okay, expenditure and revenue, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So it says that there is no evidence on file that the council used any scientific basis for the preparation of its budget.
Yeah.
Can you please explain that further?
Yes. Budget is not just budget has to, budget. This is your plan, and you don't just sit and then prepare a budget, and then it has to be triggered by something. The figures have something must trigger the figures. So if you just so that's why we flag it, and then they respond. Henceforth, what is it they used to prepare this budget? That was not clear to the auditor. So that's why we flag it, And then they respond, henceforth, the management will respectively follow the finance and accounting manual for the local government act. Because their manual has stated, what are the procedures for them to prepare their budget. But in this case, that wasn't followed in preparing their budget. So that's what we have flagged.
Yes, because I know you stated that there's no indication that budget circulars were dispatched to wards and subcommittees to include proposals for the budget.
Yes, there was no evidence. The steps required as the finance manual were followed. These include, but not limited to, dispatching budget circulars to wards and council subcommittee to include proposal, the finance committee, because this is for the council. So the wards, you need to get the feedback, the input at the wards level, at various ward levels. It's like these are procedures that need to be followed before you can come up with a consolidated budget and send it to your ministry. But there was no evidence that these procedures were followed, and then all what we see was a consolidated budget. So that's what we queried. You cannot just, it has to be triggered from somewhere. The wards council, they need, your councillor, their input need to be sought and then included in the budget. And they said henceforth they will do that.
So does that mean that whatever budget it was that they prepared was likely not a true reflection of what the council would actually, what the expenditure and revenue would be for the year coming?
It might not be realistic because this is budget. It's not the actual, but this is budget. But the budget need to be reasonable, because if you are budgeting for the whole council, so if you just prepare figures without the input from the other stakeholders, let's say at the ward level, the budget might be realistic. It might be an imposed budget. You are just telling them, but you are not getting it from them. So that's the thing. So you are just looking at, and it can lead to, realistic budgeting. So for auditors, don't just say, okay, this is what will happen, but what it can trigger, the risks it can trigger. So we'll make sure that we flag that one so that you can take note of it.
Thank you. Let's look at page 12 of the management letter. It's about bank reconciliation.
Yes.
And it says that bank reconciliation was performed for the 6 bank accounts of the council. Please tell us about this.
Yeah, because bank reconciliation is like you making withdrawals from the bank, you enter them in the passbook, you send in checks, so at the end of every month, according to the regulation, you have to reconcile, because there might be checks that you send to the bank, but they have not been cleared. There might be payments that have been sent, they haven't hit your account, there might be payments that were dishonored. So you have to reconcile at the end of every month to say, okay, this is the amount in the bank and the amount in the cash, according to your cash, they tally, they reconcile. That's the purpose of bank reconciliation. So that if there is any error, you can regularize it. If there is any unpresented checks on deposit, you can regularize it. Because you use these bank reconciliations to prepare your financial statement. These are some of the that will be used in supporting your financial statement. So if you don't get these things right, you cannot, there is no way that you can come up with a credible financial statement.
Thank you.
Can I come in here before you proceed? Mr. Trawale, it is true that in the Local Government Act, specifically in Part 7, that is the financial provisions, it is provided for the councils to be to have financial autonomy. During the course of your investigation and looking at their budget, what is your assessment? 127 of how they were spending these funds pursuant to particularly section 127 of the Act and 128. 127 is talking about the council should have financial autonomy, and 128 is talking about the revenue and funds of the council. So whilst conducting your business, that is to find out how they are operating their funds, that is the rates and taxes and any other funds that they might have received. Pursuant to this legislation, what are the issues that you really found to be very challenging with this particular municipality?
Yes, our report is divided into governance, internal controls, and finance. So the issues found during the audit are also reported at the finance section of the report. So I don't know, because this was since 2019. This was since 2019. So, but we have a section here about finance. So some of those issues, if you will allow me, are reported at the finance section of this report. Yeah. Yes, please. Yes.
Sorry, I will want you to elaborate more.
Okay.
The reason for my question is the fact that you have said in your evidence that over the years, these councils don't even provide financial statements.
Yes.
So I am at a loss as to how these councils were being operated if they cannot even provide financial statements.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are over the period also,
yeah,
with the provisions of law that should guide them as to what they are supposed to do.
Yeah. Before the 20, that's why we make sure that we cannot continue. But 2019, they submit something. It's credible, that is something else. You will see those things in the subsequent reports or whatever. But at least now they are bringing something that auditors can review. Before, nothing. But when we get to the finances, you will see some of the issues also about those finances, those rates and taxes. Yeah.
Council, you can proceed.
Thank you.
Just wanted some clarification. In your discourse on the Basse Area Council, you said you had a clean audit in 2019 as opposed to previous ones.
Say again?
I said in your statement,
yes,
you said Basse Area Council had a clean audit in 2019.
Yes.
Now, my question is, you are saying all of these things, no balance sheet, no council affairs. How can you then make an emphatic statement that they had a clean budget, they had a clean audit?
Yes, yes, for Basse, and then I can tell you for the whole of that period, I think since we even Area Council started preparing financial statement from 2019, this report was the only report with a clean opinion, and then I doubt if there was any other clean opinion again since then. But just to answer to your question, we look at the materiality of some of these things to express an opinion. It's not absolute. That's why auditors don't express an absolute opinion, but reasonable opinion. And then there was no, if you look at the balance sheet, it was in, during the time of the draft, it was in, but they later submitted it, and then they worked with the team and they were able to provide evidence. That's why just you are there, but these are laws that you need to perform so that whether you are there or not, an independent person can come and they know what actually transpired. There are some issues we know they are material, they will have an impact on your financial statement, but some they are just internal control lapses and they don't have that direct impact on your opinion. Yeah.
Just a follow-up question regarding the internal audit. You did mention that the internal auditor, the CEO, the practice is they should not report to the CEO. They should report to the council, the whole council. Now, my question here is, have you seen a departure from the previous norm to new normal that you're proposing?
Whether the internal auditors are now reporting to the councillors. Yes, I think there is improvement on those things now. There are some improvement. But again, I think what is clear is the independence, and then that one also has to do with the competency of the internal auditors in most of these councils. Because, technically or in books, or policy, you can say, okay, the internal auditor is reporting to the councillors or to the chairman or the councillors. instead of the CEO. But practically, that's what is happening. Councils, you have all these good books, most of the councils, you have all these policies also, but the applicability, practically, that might be the challenge. And then for me, what I just see, most of these things has to do with the competence, because the internal auditor, maybe you appoint the internal auditor, but doesn't even know his primary function or his primary duties. Then whatever you tell him, he's doing that one just to satisfy a few individuals. But if you are competent, I know there are certain things, I would rather resign, leave the job, than ask me to do that. So that is just my...
Okay, another follow-up, since you've hinted the need for competent staff. Mm-hmm. In your assessment, can your institution provide competent staff if they request it from your institution?
No, audit office
or can you recommend somebody to councils that we have gone through your books, we don't see any improvement on the capacities of these people, therefore whatever we have, it's virtually not to the best of what we are expecting. Can you make a proposal?
Our responsibility, we are a reporting body, and then if you look at our reports, these are reported, where there is community also, these are reported to the stakeholders who are responsible for that. That's why our report, the management of the council will be copied, the mayor or the chairperson will be copied, the Ministry of Local Government will be copied, the Ministry of Finance will be copied, and the report will be discussed at the National Assembly. These are the oversight body responsible. For us, it's just a report. Yeah.
Any other questions from the commissioner? If not, can you please proceed?
Thank you. Mr. Traoré, still on the management letter, at page 14, under the assets, you have stated that Bassa Area Council's asset register was deficient, that about 8 motorbikes were purchased but not recorded on the asset register. It also says that number BSAC 27 was allocated to 2 motorbikes, but one of the motorbikes was not recorded in the register.
Yeah.
So in a situation like this, where only one is recorded in the register, is it possible for an individual to appropriate that particular asset or motorbike without the council realizing it?
Yes, that is the purpose of the asset register, so that if somebody either, because as I said, audit, we look at the potential risks, we don't look at the potential risk. Because the purpose of the asset register is so that all the assets that belongs to the council are recorded. And then the asset register, that's why this register shows the date this asset was purchased, the amount it was purchased for, the location of this asset, and then all of them has to be serial numbered. They should all have a coding system, so that if you see this particular asset, you know that this belongs to Bassa Area Council. And then in the register, the date the asset was purchased, the location, is it in the CEO's office, is it in this motorbike, you know, the motorbike might be tagged, the number of the motorbike, who is having this motorbike. So that at any time, if any of these asset is not around, you'll be able to trace it immediately. So if you look at the risks, that is why the auditor said without a proper maintenance of the asset register, it will be difficult to properly control and account for the assets of the council. So this is possible if there is no asset register, proper asset register in place. Because you have seen it's where assets are purchased, but they are not included in the register. And then if you go, you have to look at the asset register and say, okay, these are the assets that belong to Bassa Area Council. But if that is not properly recorded, I might see an asset, there is no evidence that it belongs to Bassa Area Council. Or you can see an asset here, and then you don't see the physical asset. So that is why the asset register, all the assets need to be. And then even the condition of the asset need to be mentioned in the asset register. You might have an asset, all hold an evidence that maybe it is parked somewhere else, and the auditors have to verify that. That is where the auditors can even come with auction recommendation for them to auction it, so that at least the revenue can get at that discounted price. That's the purpose of the asset register. And
this is a recurring issue, because in 2017 and 2018 report, it was also flagged as an issue, the asset register issue.
Yes, and then maybe but at times, even if you can give opportunity also for their response, maybe that will also give an insight of the readers what is their stand about some of our these findings. For example, this one, they said it was very difficult to have the complete asset register of council, simply because some of the assets were with the council for so many years, 30 years or more. It's difficult to obtain the date of acquisition and cost. But that's why, the ones that are just newly purchased, you should make sure what have been happening 30 years back or so, you cannot even account for your asset. That doesn't happen again. That is why when 30 years, that's fine. We can't do anything about it. We can't undo it. But currently, you just make sure that whatever asset is purchased is recorded, the condition, the cost, where it is, and then you just update it. But even with that, the updated asset register has not been provided to us. What I'm trying to say, you said, okay, for the past 30 years, there is no asset register, and then still continue with that trend.
But are you able to verify that there were actually assets that were 30 years old or more?
No, I mean their response. I'm just saying that
I understand that it's their response, but so...
Auditors can only confirm that if there is record.
Okay.
If there is record. Even if I see an asset, that I know maybe it might be here for 50 years, but there is record, I will not implicate myself. Audit is all evidence-based. So we don't just,
And do you recall if there were any landed properties on the asset register?
Say again?
Whether there were any landed properties stipulated in the asset register?
Landed properties. According to there should even be a property register as well. The council, apart from this asset register, should be a property register like the lands and then the other things, but that has also not been submitted.
It was not submitted?
Yes.
Thank you. May I have the report?
The report, right?
Now, under performance review, there were several issues that were raised. Some of them were in respect of the Lumo. It says the Lumo did not have a water supply facility. The vendors and customers scavenged for water from nearby sources, which was visibly inadequate. Then I believe there was a visit to the toilet facilities, and it says the only toilet installation at the site had 3 of its 8 rooms disabled. There was no water supply facility at the toilet. There is no designated dump site, and refuse is dumped indiscriminately all over the market. And it goes on. There was also the issue of the Kabakama footbridge, that the bridge has a defect with the ground pillars resulting from erosion, especially during the rainy season. It says has been detected and is currently under review for redress. Was that from you, or was that from the management? The part about the bridge, the issue has been detected and is currently under review for redress.
Oh.
Effect with the ground pillars resulting from erosion, especially during the rainy season. This has been detected and is currently under review for redress.
Okay, but the management is not in the box, right?
No, there's no management.
Okay, then this is just because maybe the team found. Do you finish? Are you done?
Pardon?
You're done with the whole?
Yes, that's it.
That is okay. when we, just as I've mentioned, we don't only focus on the finance, but councils are to provide service to the people. And then we also make sure that we don't go to each and every facility, but we make sure that we select samples. If they are constructing bridges, markets, and other development projects, we will go and conduct a review, a performance review. We call it a performance review. The lumos, we'll go to these lumos. If the council built lumos and you build toilets and there is no water facility, the purpose is defeated. So these are some of the things, because these are taxpayers' money used to build a toilet. You build a toilet and there is no water, that can have an impact on the citizens of those using those lumos. So we will bring those things for the stakeholders, for the councils to know, or the stakeholders to know, you need to fix this. And then when these bridges, because we will look at the amount spent on these bridges, then we will go and review. If a bridge is built and then we see that there are some defects or whatever, I think the time the team went there, they saw that they were, working on those constructions, those things also. But we will still bring it out, because meaning, what caused that? You just build something and then all of a sudden, it is just being, you've seen some of those issues also. This is just for them to know that they need to do a better work, and then next time the contractors selected and all those things need to meet the required quality.
Thank you. Thank you. My colleague will lead you with some questions now.
All right. Thank you for your time and the very detailed answers you have provided with respect to the questions were asked. So basically, I will want to take you through the audit report that you have prepared for KMC, dated the 9th day of February, 2023. For the years ended 31st December 2020 and 31st December 2021. Now, to start with, I'm not sure whether you have the soft copy in your laptop.
Yes, I have KMC.
To start with, before we go to the findings of the your process, can we please discuss the issue on page 8? You have outlined a disclaimer of opinion. And you have also provided basis for your disclaimer. Can you tell us what the reasons for your disclaimer of opinion and what it is all about?
Okay, on page 8. Okay. Yes. Just as rightly said, there are different types of audit opinion, depending on your review, what you found on the ground. For KMC, the latest audit report, 2020-2021, is disclaimer of opinion, meaning the auditors cannot express an opinion on the financial statement. And the reason for that is what you call the basis of opinion. One is on confirmed changes of the comparative figures. Okay. On confirmed changes of the comparative figures, the 2019, the audit report for 2019 was an adverse, meaning it's not true and fair. And then now, when we come to audit 2020, according to the management, those figures has been restated, meaning they have they have worked them.
Before you proceed, I know you have discussed earlier as to the meaning of true and fair. Now, just before you proceed, can you just elaborate on what do you mean again? You say the audit report of 2019 were not true and fair.
Yeah, 2019 adverse, and that means it is not true. And the reason why this is not true and fair, I explained in the 2019 audit opinion.
Yes.
So if you go to 2019, you will see. If we said it's not true and fair, the reason why we said that. So this is 2020, and the reason why we said the 2020 is not true and fair is what I'm just going through now.
Please proceed.
Yeah, it said the 2020 figures, which was an adverse opinion, significantly changed from the audited 2019 revenue and expenditure statement and balance sheet figure. We could not verify the correctness of these changes because we were informed that the financial software system was locked and adjustment could not be made. These figures will affect the 2020 opening accumulated fund and subsequent financial statement. Meaning, you know, if you are preparing your 2020, you need the 2019 actual figures. But if your 2019 audit report said it is not true and fair, because there are certain balances that are misstated or they are not supported, and then you said, okay, now whether that has been done or not, then we are limited. So this is one of the reasons why we are not able to. That is one. So two, lack of audit trail. Matrix property tax system. There was no audit trail for the matrix property tax system in respect of rates. We were unable to have access to the system to confirm and validate the accuracy of the rates figure of 81,070,000 reported on the revenue and expenditure statement. Our IT unit attempt to obtain data from both front and back end to provide to the finance and team. No access was successful. So what happened with this matrix? This is your system where you capture your revenue. So the revenue that you've reported, you've earned. The revenue that you've reported, the team wanted to get into the system to access it. Get evidence that this is the actual revenue collected, but we are not able to have access to that, meaning we are limited. And we further noted suspected fraud of 297,941 in respect of delete rate transactions as per memo dated 28 December 2020 with reference number this. A task force was set up by the council to investigate the matter, but no investigation report was provided. If a system whereby auditors detected that a transaction has been deleted and we are not able to recover the amount involved in the deleted transaction. So the auditors are saying, based on some of these things, we cannot express an opinion. That is two reasons. And the other reason is payroll system. The payroll system also lacks audit trail in respect of payroll transaction to verify, to validate the accuracy of the payroll figures in the revenue and expenditure. Because there is no audit trail in the payroll, and then that also limited the audit. And the third reason was lack of data in the EcoTech system. There was no data in EcoTech system to manage daily collection for valid project. The revenue and expenditure statement reported on an uncovered balance of 6,000 for skip bins, whilst no figure was reported. We could not determine the actual type of collection made for the year due to the lack of data. An unpresented Lansing invoice. Invoice for Lansing payment were not presented for audit inspection to confirm that the actual invoice amount agree with the receipt amount. In the absence of the invoice, the correctness of the Lansing figure of 83,535,000 reported on the revenue and expenditure system could not be verified. So these are some of the reasons, constraints that the audit team had, and these things are huge figures that involve the cost of revenue. And these are the figures used to build their financial statement. So we cannot verify whether these things are correct or not. Opinion for the period.
And so, just to highlight on one of the points, you have a figure being given to you at the tune of $81,070,873. But you are saying that you can't even access the system to make verification with respect to the figures you were given. So how serious do you think that is?
Well, the seriousness of the from audit point of view is our opinion. We say disclaimer, meaning you cannot express an opinion. Maybe from audit point of view, disclaimer, meaning we are constrained, we cannot express an opinion. And if you go to each and every one of these in the management letter, the implication, whether high, low, also are described there. They are all high, meaning they are serious issues, reputational issues, because because we cannot say whether it is true or false, whether it's a fraud or whether it is. But as far as we are concerned, we don't have access. We can only verify if we have access. We are limited, so we are said we cannot access.
So it is fair to say that to a large extent, the financial statements that you were presented with were not backed by evidence.
Yes.
Very well. So we will now visit some of the issues that you have highlighted in the audit report.
And maybe just to say, if auditors express a disclaimer of opinion, it's a serious issue. Because they are saying we cannot say.
Can I say, in fact, it is a very serious issue.
Oh, I can say it's a serious issue.
Yes.
We don't want to, it's a serious issue, yeah.
Because I want to believe for you to not to be able to express your opinion, that would perhaps be the height of seriousness.
Yes, that is it. If you have that door, you say go and farm that bicycle in the door. I came, you don't give me the key. I said I cannot confirm whether the bicycle is there or not. So that is it. So
very well. Nonetheless, we will still discuss some of the findings you have highlighted in relation to the audit report, even though we have already discussed the fact that...
Council, may I just intervene at this point?
Very well.
To ask Mr. Tarawale that it is your evidence that if the audit opinion indicates that it is a high level risk, it means, you may correct me if I am wrong, it means there is a serious possibility of the entire system crashing at one point. Is that the implication?
Yeah, audit risks, if they say high, it is telling you that if it is not regularized, if it continues, it can lead to a total failure of the institution. If it is medium, meaning you are just pointing out so that they can do something, that means you can take time to regularize it. So that is how this is just the standard, this is just the ranking of the audit risks. Yeah.
Council, you can proceed.
Thank you. And also in relation to the high level risk, I've noticed that you have highlighted about 50 instances wherein you have marked them as being a high level risk. So we will discuss some of the findings as well before we go on break. I will refer you respectfully to page 71 of the document in question. You have also detected fraud, like suspected fraud is the type. And I may read, there were deletion of rate transactions to the tune of $297,941 for the 3 butus in respect to rates for the year 2020. And can you just discuss more about these findings?
Yeah, page 71, right?
71.
Yes, I'm just trying to be there. Sorry, I'm just trying to be there. 71, sorry, I'll be there soon. Yes, deletion of rate transactions?
Yes, deletion of rate transactions of $297,941 for the 3 butus. And in fact, this issue, as per the report, is still not yet resolved.
Yes, a task force was set up, according to the review, by the council to investigate the matter, but no investigative report was provided to confirm the conclusion of the investigation. Our discussion with the task force members revealed that the matter was still on and the amount unrecovered. We also noted that it was not reported to the appropriate authority, such as the Gambia Police Force, for proper investigation. It's a serious issue, and this is among the reasons why the auditors cannot, because it's a suspected fraud and then no conclusion. These are some of the things that lead to the you to prepare a credible financial statement. These are among the reasons why we are not able to give an opinion. It's a serious matter. And then management respond if you want to, but otherwise it's a serious issue. If you look at our implication, if you look at the implication, it's telling you it is high. It is of
yes, because if you've already referred me to the management response, they've highlighted that they have set up an investigation panel, but it appears as if from your further comments, you haven't received any documentation or evidence thereto.
Exactly. They said there is an implication. It's a long response from the management, but our further comment is the audit evidence we have revealed that the Deputy Director of Finance indeed had super admin right to the system. We could not confirm if the IT manager had the right as alleged in the management response, as he was relieved from council before the current audit comment. So their management response, they were like the IT manager or whatever has been dismissed, and then they were not able to get track of this, according to their response.
Now, when you say super admin rights, what does that mean?
This super admin right, this means maybe has right to view, and then, you know, these are IT terminology, but as they said, the finance director has super admin right. I think that means you have multiple rights. Exactly, absolute right over the system.
Is that a normal practice?
That might not be a normal practice. That might not be a normal practice. I think that is why the auditors flag it, because if you say the deputy finance has a super admin rights, maybe that's why the auditors flag it, because we are not the expert in this area, but for the stakeholders to know whether this is a normal thing, because you know the audit report is not for us. Is for the decision makers, policy makers.
Absolutely.
So if something happens, that's why we bring it out, so that the policy makers can know, is this the right thing to be doing, or they need to revisit this thing.
Exactly. So I'm thinking now, if an individual has an absolute right over a certain financial management or whatsoever, is that not very risky in relation to minimizing fraud?
Yes, it is risky.
Or like manner?
Yeah, it is risky. That's why it comes under high.
Very well. We will now again turn to other issues. Let's say I may refer you to page 73. At page 73, you have also outlined outstanding shortage in the ballot project.
Yes.
And you've highlighted that there was no investigation. Can you please buttress on that?
Yes. According to the report, there was 121. There was a shortage in respect of ballot revenue for certain wards, Abuko, Bakau, and then as mentioned in the table. And this is the amount recovered and the amount paid. And then the orders, according to the report, they are paying, but at the end of the period, there is a balance of 121,806 that has not been recovered. We further noted that recoveries were made from November to December, but no shortage were reported. This was prepared on a separate sheet details. So they were recovering, but the shortage was not reported. The report for the shortage was not reported.
So in a sense, if I may go through the table, in Abuko there was about a shortage of $95,490, and the recoveries that were made were $22,400, and the balance still outstanding is $73,090. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And same as well with Bakau K Point. I think in that case there was full recovery made.
Yes, full recovery.
But if you go to Bundung Bohol, there seems to be an outstanding balance of 3,420.
Yes.
Bundung 6 Junction, 2,565.
Yes.
And Deepak 13,486.
Yeah.
So all these outstanding balances, of course, generally will
121. Yes.
Yes. Lost revenue to.
Yes.
Yes. As at the time of the conclusion of the audit report, are you even aware whether this was ever resolved? Did they even communicate to your office at any time in relation to this?
Their response was 86,000 and 43,000. 86,043 of the amount was recovered. Please see the table below. Total recovery will be completed by the end of February 2023. And the management is working on the internal control to avoid reoccurring. This was their response. They said the recoveries will be completed in February 2023. So this can only be confirmed when we go back to our 2022 audit cycle.
Subsequently.
Yeah.
Now, I will also refer you to page 76 of the audit report with the title on presented fraud allegation report. Now, the findings were that the investigative report for the fraud allegation at the council was not presented for audit review. The allegations include the following: a loan of 12 million secured for the purchase of a parcel of land for council senior management, allegation of forgery as well, and solicitation of bribe to the tune of 30,000.
Yes.
Yes. What can you tell us about that?
Yes. This was just as part of our review. During our file review, we've seen an allegation of fraud, and then, but there is no report. They said there's an investigation, but there is no report to confirm of that investigation. So the audit report is basically about the outcome of that report. And then if you go further, with regard to the above, the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government set up an investigative team to look into the matter. We were informed that the investigation was completed, but the official report was not provided for our review. We were provided with a report without official letterhead or to whom the report was submitted. Therefore, we could not rely on the report to make follow-up on the findings and recommendations made by the investigative team, and then make any conclusion. This was because if you are the person involved, CEO, not an ordinary staff, and then as auditors, just as I rightly said, we look at the potential. If you see that there is an alleged investigation, auditors has a responsibility to confirm the of that investigation, so that the person can either continue or so that a decision can be taken by the individual, rather than a report. You see in the files that there is investigation and you don't see the report. So that was just the follow-up that the auditing we are making on this matter. Yes,
because in fact in the response that they provided, they outlined that apparently they are taking steps to cancel the 12 million.
Exactly.
And then I've seen in your comment that there was no evidence of that.
The auditors added the report remained unpresented. The evidence for the cancellation of the 12 million was not submitted with response for our review.
Another issue that is of serious concern as well that you've highlighted, in fact it is marked as high in the priority list, is the issue of payment of gross or full salary to suspended staff. In fact, you've highlighted that the staffs involved perhaps include the CEO, Director of Finance, Deputy Director of Compliance, and Assistant Rates Manager.
Yes, this also came as part of the file review because normally auditors, when we go, we selected sample files, we review. So whatever we find in the files, then if necessary for us, then we make follow-up and seek for clarification. So we noted that the suspended staff, CEO, the Director of Finance, and the Deputy Director of Compliance and Rates were on suspension and were receiving gross or full salary instead of basic as per the memo dated 26 July 2021. Because in the file there was a memo that they should be on half salary, but we realized that if you look at the payroll, they were on full salary. And the auditors were just looking for the clarification. What is the outcome of this? That's the purpose of this query. And then their response was the observation is noted and action has been taken with immediate effect. And the auditors' further comment was the response did not specify the action taken and no evidence provided with the response to verify the claim.
Yes.
Yes.
And also in addition to that as well, one of the main concerns you had as an auditor, which is captured in your implication heading, is that it's a very serious issue because of the fact that if they do not address these issues appropriately, it may encourage other staff to engage in similar. Can you explain that further?
Yes, the implication is a payment of full salary to this staff might encourage other staff involved in malpractices because paying of gross salary is more of incentive rather than disciplinary measure.
So what you are trying to say here, to my understanding, is that if you do not enforce the right procedure in relation to not paying full salary to suspended staffs, you are running the risk of having other staffs to follow suit, which will perhaps cause loss of revenue and also lack of proper administration to.
Yes, you know, as I already, these are just the regulations, and then we just quote the regulation, and then what actually transpired, and then we bring the report out for the decision makers, policy makers to know this is what happening, and then take the necessary action.
And another issue as well is in relation to the valid project.
Yes.
That is in page 79 of the audit report, where you have allowances paid to certain individuals, $500 allowance, $1,000 allowance being paid, and these allowances they did not follow the right channel.
Yes.
In fact, they were not properly or let me say legally approved, but they were being paid. So can you please explain that for us?
Yes, according to the report, they are paying council staff on approved allowance 500 risk allowance and 1,000 to the manager and supervisor of the environment and sanitation unit. We engage the senior officer at the account unit and request for council resolution, because they said the council resolution was bad, but no evidence of that was submitted to the auditor. So that's why we flag it. Auditors cannot say you shouldn't pay this allowance, you shouldn't pay, but we need to see an evidence, the approval. It's approved. Auditors doesn't have any power to say so, but all what we need is it has been authorized. And then the response was the staff were assigned to some extra responsibility, according to the response, to the valid project, of which the West Stroke Committee recommended for the said staff be some allowance as compensation. Hence, extra responsibility was added to their current responsibility. This was their response. And our findings is that no evidence provided with the response to verify the claim. If they are given extra responsibility or it has been approved by the council, no evidence has been provided, and that was our auditor's further comment.
All right. In the event of in the issue regarding the allowances being paid without approval, do you have any evidence as to when it started?
I think, let me just go back to that.
Because this will now go to address the issue regarding how much money is possibly lost without following due process.
No, the period is not mentioned. They only fly. The period is not
mentioned.
Yeah, mentioned.
Good. But also, then if they don't mention any period, one can reasonably believe
if there is need be, if you want to, then you can go and establish when they.
And, if I may ask you to page 81 of the audit report. You've highlighted that there was no financial reporting framework and accounting policies in respect to your finding. And if I may read, that council did not disclose the financial reporting framework adopted to prepare and present its financial statements. There were no accounting policies stating the treatment and recognition of items in the financial statement. And the implication that you've highlighted is that in the absence of financial reporting framework and accounting policies, it will be difficult for financial users to identify the basis adopted in preparing. I know you've already discussed this in your deliberations when you started, the importance of having financial statements being accurate and also its implication. Can you buttress more on that?
Yes, it's the responsibility of the management to prepare the financial statement, and then if you are preparing the financial statement, you should express, it should come clearly the basis you are using, the accounting policy you are using in preparing your financial statement. Auditors will now evaluate that accounting to confirm whether you are preparing your finances in accordance with the accounting policy that you've stated. But the financial statement was submitted, and then they haven't mentioned the basis used in preparing that financial statement. So that is what the finding is all about. And then for them, they said the council adopted the cash basis in preparation of the financial statement in line with the central government policy. And then auditor's document was management response incomplete, but the financial reporting framework and accounting policy were disclosed on the financial statement. After this, they've disclosed it that they are using the cash basis as per the central government accounting policy.
Yes, so still on the financial statements, in the beginning you've disclosed that one of the reasons why you've arrived at, you have given a disclaimer is that with respect to the issues of restated financial statements, for example, the 2019 audit, the 2019 financial statements were not actually handed over to you. So in your finance, we noted that the council did not restate in 2019 financial statement since the audit opinion was an adverse opinion, which I've already discussed. So, in the implication, you've highlighted that the financial statements remain unadjusted or restated. There is risk that the same opinion will apply to the subsequent years because of the brought forward of the incorrect amount balances.
Yes, sure. Because any financial statement must have comparison figure. If you are preparing your 2020, 2019 actuals will be the comparison figure, because the purpose is people to know, okay, your revenue for 2019 was this, for this year is this. The users, because the financial statement is the users, they need to use the financial to come up with decisions. So you have to look at the trend. 2019 is 8 million, your revenue. 2020 is 50 million. Or maybe your payment allowances is 8 million. 2019, 2020 is 50 million. Users will be interested to know about what happened. So that's the purpose of the financial statement. So if you're 2019, the financial statement, the figures there were not credible, you are not able to support. And then you are not able to provide any justification for the figure that you have created and adverse, and then you say the system is locked, and you are not able to make any restatement. So obviously, the same issue will continue for the 2020, and if that is not out, if that is not regularized, it will continue for 2020, 2023, 2024. So it's a serious issue.
Yes. I am more concerned about the reason for not accessing the system, which is the system is locked, for example.
Well, however, they said the financial statement could not be restated because the accounting software was locked for the period. So let's just see their response. Well, no response for this. So our auditor's further comment is, management did not respond to the audit query. However, we noted that the 2020 financial statement comparative figures were different from the audited 2019 financial statement. The council did not provide evidence to confirm these figures. So they haven't responded.
Disclosure of current, non-current assets and creditors as well. Government authorities. Here it appears as if they do not disclose certain your work as an editor.
Yes, because these are the, according to their manual, they are fixed assets because they are operating on a cash basis. Fixed assets will not be, but there will be a fixed asset register. And then the non-current assets and disclosure of current and non-current assets. And then an asset and creditors. There should be, because they are operating on a cash basis. The expectation is you use cash to buy, and then anybody who owe you money will. But if there is creditors, compound rates, and they haven't paid, there should be a list. A list for this to say this amount of money is what is owed to our receivable. Likewise, the creditor, those whom you're supposed to pay and you haven't paid them, there should be a list. And this is from the manual. There should be a list to show that these are the amount of money that the council is owing and supposed to pay. But that has not been provided. So that's what the query is all about.
Let's now discuss the issue of donations.
Yes.
That is on page 84. You have noticed that there was no account in relation to the management or maintenance of donations given to the councils. And you've highlighted in the report, you've clearly tabled the samples of donations that were being received, but were not properly accounted for, or were in a separate account.
Yes, according to the report, there are donations received for 2020, 2021, and these were council money. It doesn't mean that these were revenue or received as part of their operation. Donations, and then donations are given to the council because the council is for the people. So at least to account for it, at least there should be a donation register to show this so and so has been received as a donation for accountability and reporting purpose. So that's the reason for that, and then they've responded that the observation is noted. And the reason they were not recognized as part of the council is that donation is not mentioned anywhere in the chart of account in the financial manual for local government authorities. However, we created a control account to monitor the movement of transactions. Hence, we are not part of the normal revenue line. They were not part of the normal revenue line. These donations are normally raised by committees or task force set for specific activities, where subsequently disbursed to the said committees for implementation of their activities. And then the auditor's further comment is, the council disclosed donations received on the 2020 financial statement and supplementary information. They later provide a supplementary information and then disclose these donations received. Yeah.
So what would be your advice as an auditor in relation to having donations not being properly accounted for, or in a separate account, and or having it part of the proper management account within the council?
Yes, the way they should go about it, that is management decision. As auditors, we don't get into management decision or policy decision. That for us is just to say, you are receiving donations, you need to make sure that they are accounted for and they are disclosed so that people can know the donation received and how it has been spent. The way they should go about that one is management decision.
No, what I mean is your advice
is management should ensure that a donation account is maintained